Hi, Chris. I'll just wait another minute or so in case anyone else would like to join. Okay, good afternoon and welcome to today's session. My name is Anna, and for anyone who is completely new, I'm a Tibetan Buddhist nun in the Gelugpa lineage of Tibetan Buddhism. So this course is based on the teachings of the great scholar and spiritual guide, Venerable Geshe Acharya Thupten Lodin, and especially on his book, Meditations on the Path to Enlightenment. Venerable Geshe Lodin first came to Australia in 1976 after more than 50 years of study in both Tibet and India. And so today we're going to explore different forms of meditation from the Tibetan Buddhist collection. And we will do 2 short meditations. And if you would like a handout on meditations, you're welcome to email events@toshita.org. So we'll begin with a quotation by Geshe Lodin from Meditations. And he says in here, by way of mind, the circumstances of your personal reality are created. And because meditation directly addresses the mind, it is key to creating a reality that is happier, healthier, more peaceful and satisfying. So let's unpack that a little. Meditation opens us up to the world of the mind. And as we investigate the nature and pervasiveness of the mind, more and more we realise the fact that there is really no other world but that of the mind. So the Buddha teaches that the condition of our mind literally shapes how we experience the world. And mind alone determines whether we will experience the world through sadness or happiness or other various filters. So through our mind, we experience the world and our circumstances and how it's created. And therefore, the key to creating a happier and healthier mind, a happier, healthier, more peaceful and satisfying reality is through the mind. So meditation is about the mind, and for the mind is about the mind and creating a healthier and happier mind like we do exercise for the body. It's a really very marvellous tool to get our mind into a far better condition. So in our lesser moments, the mind is captured by afflictive states or negative states such as greed or anger and self-obsession. And when the mind is captured by such a state, it can do untold damage to our own happiness and that of the happiness of those around us as well. and it can lead to actions that really hurt ourselves and hurt others. And then this itself, it brings on having then undertaken harmful thoughts or something like that, then this brings a rain of suffering in itself and more miserable experiences, and all while establishing patterns of behaviour and ingraining patterns of behaviour that are really, really not that helpful. So, for example, an example would be 1 minute, we're having, a marvellous time with our loved ones, and then something creates, some anger and rage, and in a moment, everything has gone wrong within that circumstance. But even minutes later, this thing having gone wrong, there can be deep regret. So, this is an example of a mind that is really, really not that helpful. So, according to Geshe, conversely, in our better moments, we are capable of acts of enormous joy and love and kindness. And so free from these negative emotions and free from these three main types of negative minds, which fall into the baskets of attachment and ignorance and anger, free of these, our mind, when fused with compassion and wisdom, is the most incredible source of happiness and joy for ourselves and for other people as well. So we have this dichotomy that we've got this mind that can sort of create so much joy. That's why it becomes so important to try and do this work to put it into a better condition, so to speak. So therefore, mind becomes, in that case, of supreme importance. And meditation is this wonderful transformational tool. And if practiced regularly, we can begin to use this tool as a doorway to a much, much more inner peace and happiness, and bringing change to the way that we see and approach the world and the circumstances that arise for us, and contribute in a different way to every different situation. So some regular formal meditation is really useful. For example, if you can do 15 minutes 3 times a week, then there is every likelihood that you will begin to develop a new perspective, because we're creating more spaciousness, and we're settling the mind down. So in fact, even if we're really busy, if we can just find that 15 minutes to do some form of meditation, that will really, really help with everything that we do the rest of the week. So meditation enables us to literally train and educate our mind so that it can respond better to all the different things and circumstances in our life as they apply during the day. So through applying some very simple techniques and some level of consistency, we can address these forms of negative thinking that sometimes sit underneath our decision-making, like anger and frustration and pride and jealousy, low self-esteem, big ego, indecision, poor judgment, and so on. There's so many of them. There's so many different minds that can cause us difficulty and challenge. And so very importantly, then we can conversely, through doing our meditation, and we'll talk in a minute, we can also talk about informal meditation. Very importantly, we can bring these very positive qualities into our lives, and our lives can begin to run step by step, a little better. And so, we want to have more concentration, we want to have space and quiet, we want to have relaxation, better decision making, the ability to be more present when we're engaged in something or in conversation with people, love and compassion and wisdom and clarity and generosity and patience, and so many very marvellous qualities that will enrich and enhance our lives. So today we will explore 3 different types of meditations that we can use from the Tibetan Buddhist meditation toolbox, so to speak. And we will We will also close with a very beautiful rainbow meditation that many people really enjoy. So we're going to begin this session with a breathing meditation to settle our mind and become more present with our chosen activity at the moment. So if we first of all get into a nice comfortable position, and sitting on a chair is fine for your meditation if that's what you would like to do, and preferably a chair with a nice straight back, otherwise you might get sleepy. If you're sitting on the floor, there is no need to attempt to do a lotus position. Easy cross legs is fine. The main thing is to try and keep our back nice and straight. We take a deep breath, we raise our shoulders and then drop them down. And then we can even do a big sigh if we feel like it, if that'll help us release any tension. And then we just let our body soften and relax. Not too relaxed, but just a bit softer, taking out all of that tension. So we can either close our eyes or half close them. We bend our head slightly forward, looking down the bridge of our nose. We place the tongue behind the top of the teeth, roof of the mouth, preventing the build-up of saliva. And then we rest our hands in our lap, the right hand on top of the other, and the tips of the thumbs touching. Okay, so before we commence any meditation, it's a really good idea to establish a positive motivation for doing so. So we're going to begin our meditation by generating the wish to use the positive mental qualities we develop in this session to benefit ourselves and all others. And this strengthens our meditation and creating really positive imprints on our mind. And it makes our active meditation, our decision to actually meditate and participate in that activity, it makes it a lot more worthwhile to have a good motivation for doing so. So having established our motivation, we're going to start with some breathing meditation to relax our body and mind. And the object of the concentration here is the breath as it enters and leaves the body. And you can choose whichever part of the body you would like to focus on. You can choose the rising and falling of the diaphragm. Some prefer the upper chest, you're more comfortable there, and others like as the breath travels in the nostrils and out of the nostrils, whichever is the most comfortable for you. But once you've chosen that, it's best to stay with the same one. So then we just focus our mind very gently on the rising and falling or in and out of the breath. For this very short duration, we're going to discard all other thoughts. All memories, all our plans for the future, all the worries and daydreams and feelings. With the goal to settle the mind and to create more spaciousness and serenity. We might find this challenging, especially with so much going on in these strange lockdown COVID times. But even if our mind is still busy, just the wish and the effort to create more peace and spaciousness will benefit. Because some of the changes may be very fine and imperceptible, and we're creating a positive imprint. Meditation is a learned skill, like good cooking, playing good soccer, yoga, or anything we start. Very few people will jump in and do this new activity well immediately. It is unusual to do something well the first time, though not impossible. Meditation is just the same. So we practice. Every time we have a thought or a feeling, just gently letting it go and bringing our mind back to the breath. All thoughts, sounds, and sense awareness, such as tingles and itches on your body, are mere distractions from the object of concentration. Whenever they appear to the mind, we just use a small part of our mind to label them as a distraction. And bring the attention back to the sensation of the rising and falling of the breath. To increase our focus, we can think with each breath in and out, I am breathing in. I am breathing out. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. Focus fully on this one object, the rising and falling, or in and out of the breath. Let go of every other thought and idea. What happened this morning in our house, how the children or our cat or dog was behaving, plans for tomorrow, dreams, what's happening on social media, friends and brothers and sisters, aunts, uncles or cousins. This time is precious. This is a time just for ourselves, to clear the mind and regain real presence, focus and equilibrium. A time to get everything working well again. Create a sense of spaciousness, to be completely present in this moment. Our present activity is single-pointedly observing, without mental comment or any remonstration. We are finding it challenging. Simply, gently return our mind to the natural rising and falling of the breath. Simple and uncontrived. As our mind is held on the one object, the aim is to become very still. That stillness becomes like a tranquil lake, unruffled by even the faintest breeze or the ripple of leaves and birds landing. Like the still lake, the mind's focus and concentration are not disturbed by any other thoughts, memories of past events, or projections about the future. Still like the glass-like lake. So you can release our concentration. So what is meditation in Tibetan Buddhism? Meditation in Tibetan Buddhism is quite specific in its shape and form. Some aspects are like other varieties of meditation and others are quite different. So there's a definition of meditation, and it's defined as thoroughly and deeply acquainting the mind with objects of virtue. So the object of virtue, or an object of virtue, is any object which subdues agitated states and causes the mind to become more peaceful, contented, and happy. Therefore, meditation and mindfulness can be practiced at any time. In fact, all the time. Not necessarily while we're just sitting on a cushion doing formal meditation, although that is very useful to be done regularly. And I'll talk some more about informal meditation in a little while. So meditation involves directing our attention to a particular aspect of the mind and having a deeper understanding of our attitudes and being more deliberative of what we are thinking and doing and why we're doing it. So in many cases, our responses are quite reactive to circumstances and situations, and generally based on what is known as afflictive emotions and faulty views. So the use of the term mind here refers to all of one's thoughts, feelings, emotions, and intuitions. And we can have a whole attitude sitting under our day-to-day thoughts and activities that might need unpacking. So formal and informal meditation will help us to do that work naturally. So for example, we might not want to attend a meeting in these days of Google Meet and Zoom. Underneath, our reasons for that thinking may be helpful to ourselves and others, or they may not be so helpful or even reasonable and based on kind of quite self-focused thinking. So if they're not helpful attitudes and thinking sitting underneath our decision, then they won't help the organiser and they will contribute to our own lack of peace, ultimately. So it's these underlying attitudes that a good meditation is seeking to address and will help because they help us to see what is happening in our mind more clearly. So our responses, as said, to these circumstances of life are often based on what is called afflictive emotions and faulty views. In reverse, positive minds and attitudes are by nature far more relaxed and peaceful and are the root causes of our happiness. And positive states of mind would include the mind of relaxed and stable concentration, the mind of generosity, including wishing to care for others and to assist them in various ways, and the mind of patience that is able to readily accept and adjust to any situation or conditions, to be very flexible, but also to be able to manage different situations in a very skillful and patient way, the minds of happiness and joy. Altruistic states of mind, such as the mind of love that wishes for another to have happiness, which we talked about a couple of weeks back, 3 weeks back, and compassion that wishes for others to, compassion or great compassion that wishes for others to be free from suffering, and then wisdom that gives us insight into the nature of reality. And all of these can be classified as positive states because they unfailingly benefit both ourselves and others. So positive minds create good experiences irrespective of external conditions. And they are more enlightened responses to the world than us being tossed around literally by waves of situations and moods and circumstances, emotions and feelings. So as such, these positive minds, such as patience and generosity, concentration and wisdom, can be regarded as our very best friends because they come with us wherever we go. So what we're trying to do is cultivate these very positive minds that sit underneath and come with us wherever we go and allow us to make the best of whatever situation we find ourselves in, whether it's an easy situation or a challenging situation. So it's very attitudinal. So Tibetan Buddhism, Buddhist meditation has a bigger overarching purpose, and that's to reach the state of a fully enlightened being. And that's like a kind of ultimate course for personal growth, where everything, mind, body, emotion, spirituality, are all in perfect accord. And so Tibetan Buddhism offers this wonderful combination of stabilising meditation, analytical meditation covering many, many beneficial topics, and methods to profoundly and permanently transform our mind. So it is this experiential, transformational aspect of Tibetan Buddhism that is so interesting and inspirational for those of us interested in deep and abiding personal growth and being best placed to help our world and to help those around us, our families and our communities, our friends. And so the very thought that we can, through meditation practice, actually become a more highly evolved human being is quite exceptional. So then there is informal meditation. So when we become more skilled, or we can even begin straight away, we can also meditate throughout the day through mindfulness. So we can wake, for example, with the thought, today I am going to do the best to help others. During the day, we continuously offer our positive activities to the benefit of ourselves and all others, and we try our very best to think, as different circumstances arise, to think about how to approach things positively. And we try and think about, the positive qualities and opportunities we find to develop throughout the day, our love and our compassion, our patience. So, for example, during our shower, we might think about washing away all of our negative thinking. We reflect on our meals as opportunities to be strong and to be healthy, and rejoice in our good fortune for such good food and conditions. If we are in the position of preparing the meals for ourselves and for others, we do our very best to make sure that it's delicious as an offering. And when we go to work and in all of our other activities, we can reflect on how much they are helping ourselves and they're helping others as well. Then again, at the close of the day, we can think about what worked in the day and what we could have done better. So, we just have a quick summary. In fact, some people have this thing that they do at the end of the day where they have a pile of black stones and a pile of white stones, and they put white stone for every sort of event or a little circumstance where they think they've actually managed things really well. And then they have a little black stone for something, they might have got a bit frustrated or irritated with something, for something they think they could have done better or didn't go so well. And so you look at the little piles of stones at the end and think, how am I going today? But it's just a way. It's not a way to then sort of end up with a whole lot of self-anger and being upset with oneself. It's just a way to sort of calibrate how one's going and to have that sort of momentary reflection about our day and how we are improving the condition of our mind through our informal meditation and our mindfulness. So there's many ways that we can informally develop our mind of virtue and our positive minds throughout the day, all of these minds being of great help to both ourselves and others. And we can be creative in this too. There's lots of ways to be creative, and I'm sure many people have many contributions in that regard. And we can even dedicate our sleep or offer our sleep to, it's a very purposeful thing to do to make sure that we get enough sleep. Some people need, 6.5, some people need 7, make sure we get enough sleep and we get a little bit of wind down time without all of our various screens going beforehand, so that we get a good start to our sleeping period, and then we can think about our sleep as a period of being refreshed, refreshing ourselves, refreshing our body, refreshing our mind, that we're then in the best possible situation to then work for benefit the next day. So our sleep can also be dedicated to both building the positive aspect of our mind, but also build that kind of imprint of thinking about benefit, moving to like really strong attitude towards benefit. So there are three main types of meditation taught in Tibetan Buddhism, which sort of employ three basic functions of the mind. And the first of those is single-pointed meditation, which uses the capacity for clarity and stability and knowing directly and mindfulness. Then with analytical meditation, we use our logic and reasoning with the capacity of mind to understand things a lot more deeply. So there's a lot of really fascinating subjects within Tibetan Buddhism that we can pull apart and have a look at very, very closely and look at, whether we accept the logic and build a really, really good understanding of these topics through our use of analysis and analysing meditation. And then thirdly, is visualisation, which harnesses the power of imagination. And they can be combined, these various forms of meditation. So Tibetan Buddhism offers a lot of different meditations, and they employ all of these three types of meditation. So visualisation, there's a lot of visualisation meditation, which we will do one in a little while. So single-pointed meditation is also called stabilising meditation, calm abiding, or absorption. And this allows the mind to relax and to be still. And we did an example of that just before. So in single-pointed meditation, we give up all other thoughts and sense awareness and focus on just one object. So we can choose any object that we like, really. We can choose a flower, but we often start with just focusing on the breath because it's very ready and available. We all need to breathe, and we all have breath, so it's a good object to start with. So normally what happens is that we find at first that when we begin to meditate that the mind chatters continuously in an uncontrolled manner. So we don't have much experience of this mental stability that is really important. So we can actually develop our mental stability to the point we are capable of doing this, but this is, somebody who's doing it incredibly well. We can actually develop that mental capability to the point where we can completely focus on an object without any pause, without being totally focused. So that's actually achieving a state that is called calm abiding, and that's a very developed state of stabilisation meditation. So normally what we do is that through different associations, our thought processes jump from one thought or feeling to the next, and then to the next, and then to the next. And we generally refer to this as too much thinking, where the mind hops around without being able to abide peacefully and be settled and focused. So this is an internal dialogue that's pretty continuous. But until we practice on one object, such as the breath or the flower or whatever we choose, it's actually quite hard to even notice it. So, if we're meditating on the breath, for example, we might suddenly remember something that we need from the supermarket, and then we suddenly find, I certainly know this was my experience when I first started out, we might suddenly find that we're having thoughts about ice cream. That's where that thought came from. We have got no idea. And which type we might like as a treat for after dinner. And then we think, dinner. Then we start thinking about dinner. So we start thinking, what sort of dinner will we have? Will we have pasta or roast veggies or curry or maybe frittata? So then we go to the shopping list, like our mind is just doing its own thing like it normally does. And suddenly we're onto the shopping list. And instead of taking this incredibly wonderful opportunity, or this, instead of us having decided to sit down and attempt to meditate, we're suddenly away at the shopping centre or at Coles or Woolworths, and this opportunity for a mental break is disappearing. So when we become agitated, like when something happens, a circumstance arises which is a little bit upsetting. So when we're agitated or we're aroused in any way, this rate of mental hopping speeds up and becomes much more discursive. So sometimes it's very, very difficult to see things clearly, especially when it's something that's impacting us or our family or our friends or those close to us. And that is why meditation is sometimes called mental hygiene. It's like cleaning up an agitated mind, like we take a shower to clean the body. So when our mind is this agitated, we just can't see. We haven't got any ability to see a situation clearly. So we really, it's really best at that time to not make any decisions or be reactive. Send off that, you receive an email and you, oh, no, we're not doing that. And then you just go, because your mind is quite, shocked by what's in the contents of the email, so you fire one back. It's best not to make decisions while we're in this state, but just to wait until the mind is settled down. And all of us have got things happening all the time in our lives that we might react to. So we can either meditate at that point, or we can just wait a while for things to settle and the discussion will go on, or we can go for a walk, or we can stare at a beautiful view. Another thing is to stare at something beautiful, just to help that process and not react to that time and be reactive. So everyone has this kind of different internal commentary that's playing, each with their own unique collection of thoughts and preoccupations and tendencies. But this stream of dialogue that we all have individually, it really shapes the way that we experience and deal with the world, this dialogue. And this habits that we have of dealing with things. For example, if we've got that mental habit of complaining, then various injustices and reasons to complain appear continuously. There's plenty to complain about. If we're insecure, then we see threats lurking around every corner and continually mentally justify our actions in case we are challenged. If we've got a tendency towards dissatisfaction and then always craving the latest thing, then the mind continuously is focusing on new objects or people, and we need new sports gear, we need a new video game or the latest phone. Not to say that having the latest phone is necessarily a bad thing. You may need it for your work, but this is more the mind where you've just got to have that thing to be happy. It's going to make you happy. The same kind of dissatisfied person or a person with that kind of dissatisfaction or mind that has a tendency towards dissatisfaction is if they see beautiful gardens, then they're thinking about where they'll see the next one. And when, they gain new friends, then they're still wanting to gain more. How many likes can I get on Facebook today? That kind of mind. So if we habituate our anger, our internal dialogue will be commentary on how annoying or insulting various people are or how irritating their habits are, repeatedly thinking about the faults of another person. This can indicate that we have an issue, something that we're probably possibly uncomfortable about in ourselves, even if we aren't admitting to it. So if we think about our own response to the COVID crisis, that might be the case as well, whether we find the whole thing quite irritating, with everyone getting quite irritated with everyone, including the dog, and having anxiety, overindulgence and comfort food, days and days of binge watching Netflix or Stan series. And if in Melbourne, then, I wish we could get our lives back. And we can see some of this frustration and dissatisfaction playing out at present on social media with columns of angry commentary with people who are not happy with the situation at the present. So there are methods to get a sense of our mind, apart from when we try a stabilising meditation. One way is to just have a sit and to watch the mind from a distance. So without reacting or judging or trying to influence the thoughts in any way, we can just watch the thoughts as they arise and disappear. So we don't try to do anything. We just watch the thoughts, let them go, watch the thoughts, let them go. There is also a form of meditation called Mahamudra meditation, which is where we just observe the thoughts. So we don't get caught up with any of these thoughts that arise. We just watch and let them come and go. But that gives us a sense how busy our minds are, and how through these teachings that have passed down through 2,600 years, these methods to get our mind into a less discursive state could be so useful. So minds are quite habituated to this kind of agitation, and we don't tend to notice this mental commentary very much until we try to meditate. And, our single-pointed concentration, when we try to do, longer periods, or even a minute or 2 minutes on breath, then it can be quite surprising to see this constant chatter. And sometimes it can be quite a shock at first, where we just see how busy our minds are. So practicing this stabilising meditation or single-pointed concentration is really useful if we can get up a practice doing that. And it's enabling us to relax, to become more peaceful, and to gain more inner serenity. And then we'll be able to use this clarity and concentration that we develop to then work on some of these other topics through analytical meditation. So it is said that there are two enemies to a good stabilising meditation. So I've talked quite extensively about one of them, which is the agitated mind. The other one is dullness. So dullness is just, as it sounds, it's a mind that has become sleepy. And so they're like the enemies of a really, really good single-pointed or stabilisation meditation. So the goal of our stabilising meditation is to find the middle way. And the Buddha himself likened it to tuning a guitar. So I believe that if you would like to learn more about stabilising meditation, because it's and calm abiding, which has got a whole lot of stages, it's got 9 stages. It's a fascinating and extensive subject. And I believe that Tim McKibben's class at 4 p.m. today will be going through the calm abiding stages in more depth. So you'll be very welcome to join that as well. But getting our mind to the point where it can be a lot more settled and build our concentration, which is really useful in so many different circumstances. It's useful in our meditation practice, it's useful in our sport, it's useful in our workplaces, it's useful in our relationships, to have more concentration and more focus and more stability and more peace, just to have the mind more settled, and then to be able to control the traffic, so to speak, rather than having all the chatter just going on and on underneath, all this discussion going on about everything. So you create this environment of spaciousness and peacefulness and stability and calm and better decision making and clarity. So you're kind of clearing the decks so that you're getting this kind of lovely, stable place. Much, much better than this very agitated, chattery mind, or this mind that's a little bit not quite engaged, a bit dull. It's a very, very useful goal. So the second form of, So the second form of meditation taught in Tibetan Buddhism is analytical meditation. And this capacity for logical analysis is an essential tool in meditation and whilst listening to teachings. So the recommended way to listen to instructions on meditation is similar to an approach someone in the past would have taken to purchasing gold. So this was the Buddha's advice himself. He said that we shouldn't believe anything that we hear without checking the logic. So he said, for example, that a buyer would not take a seller's word regarding pure gold. even 2,600 years ago. So instead they would themselves, the buyer would submit the gold, a small portion of the gold, to 3 tests to be certain that the gold was really pure. And the first of those, they would have rubbed it, and then they cut it, and then they melted it. And if the gold passed those 3 tests, they might have considered buying it. So I don't really want you to believe anything that I have said today. And the Buddha has said that that all students are much better to check up for themselves. And when I first came to Tibetan Buddhism, I personally loved this. I guess I really, really loved this approach expounded by the Buddha. And I guess I was kind of a skeptic around a lot of philosophical and spiritual practices. And so that was one of the main reasons that I continued with Tibetan Buddhist studies, because it was explained to me that I should check everything. And that was, I think that's a really important aspect. So, a teaching can sound really impressive at first, but there might be flaws in the logic when we check it from different perspectives. So we really need to rely on our processes of reasoning. And if we don't find something sits well, then we should ask questions until we feel satisfied. Don't necessarily need to believe everything at first, but you can, at least if there is some of the subjects that you feel comfortable with and that you've pulled apart. So we should be relying on ourselves, relying on our own logic. It doesn't matter how charismatic a person might be, or a teacher might be, or regardless of how appealing the subject may initially seem. There's been some incredibly charismatic but dangerous teachers in the kind of spiritual world. We had that dreadful example of Jonestown, and there's been, in all kinds of faiths, there has been teachers that should not be relied on, and that is our responsibility to make sure that we've checked up. So in this way also, if we deeply accept and we have taken the time to analyse the logic, it will be much deeper and more profound experience, and potentially transformational in the way that we see the world, because we've actually taken that time to pull the topic apart. And so there's 2 main purposes of analytical meditation. And the first of those is to deepen our understanding, or to get an understanding of topics like the mind and karma, nirvana, enlightenment, and some of the other more philosophical concepts. And the second is to train the mind that we've talked about, to see the disadvantages of mental afflictions like anger, and the advantages of positive states of mind like patience. So to find a new way of looking and relating to the world. So step by step in this way, we develop a really solid understanding of each of the topics. And once we have arrived at conclusion, then we can bring in our single-pointed meditation, our concentration meditation, to focus on and deepen our understanding even further. So it becomes clear, for example, if we dwell on unhappy memories when people have harmed or insulted us, we nurture and perpetuate thus unhappy memories, and we have this result of anger and bitter states. So some people hang on to these deep hurts for their entire lifetimes, like they have a chip on the shoulder, and they carry it around like a sack on their back, and it really affects all of their lives. So all negativities can be reduced in this way by identifying the issues, selecting the right meditation tools, and abandoning the habits that cause us pain and cause us difficulty. Such as last week, or last time we met, when we talked about the faults of anger and the benefits of patience, and how they can actually transform our lives. So we need to identify the issues that are impacting us. If we're carrying something from the past, then we can identify that and try and find the tools that will help us overcome that. And the same with things that are affecting us at present. So the same, of course, happens in the reverse. If we have a particular interest, or we're captured by one of the topics, so we really want to have a mind of great love, like we feel that is a really appealing mind to have, wishing for all others happiness, or the mind of ethics, not harming others, not wanting to harm others, then we can learn all the aspects of that topic, pull it apart, ask all the questions we need to, because they've all got sort of some challenges within them for us to be able to understand, check if we agree with the hypothesis or not. Do we agree with that? And we come to a conclusion, and then we can meditate on that. So when we actually meditate on the conclusion, that becomes this powerful combination of stabilisation and analytical meditation. And it's really the core of this kind of transformational approach of Tibetan Buddhist practice. So we can then, once we've got a proper understanding of the many, many different stages of the graduated path to enlightenment, we blend them through a combination of mindfulness, concentration, and analysis. And so we analyse these subjects by listening, thinking, and meditating. So we gain, through acquaintance, we can then step by step gain realisations. For example, to gain the realisation of great compassion, first we listen to a person, a teacher, an expert on this topic, or we read up on it, or we do both. We listen and read. They all come under the umbrella of listening. Then we think about all of the aspects to verify the logic and potentially check up on quality references. We might talk with people until we've got a really, really thorough understanding. And then we meditate with stabilising meditation on our conclusion to realise the mind of great compassion. So just as there are two purposes of analytical meditation, the objects of meditation can be categorised into two parts. So there are topics to be apprehended by the mind, such as impermanence, karma, nirvana, the Four Noble Truths, such as the truth of suffering and the truth of cessation, and emptiness, and there's a number of others as well. And then there's those minds that we need to cultivate, such as patience and generosity, concentration, joy, seva, love and compassion, and bodhicitta that we explored in recent weeks. So the more we hear, the more we gain the wisdom of hearing. The more we think, the more we analyse and apply logic to gain the wisdom of thinking. And the more we meditate, the more we will gain the realisation of these various topics of subjects within the graduated path to enlightenment. So that's how the step-by-step transformation of the mind occurs, through analytical meditation. So the third type of meditation that we'll touch on today is visualisation meditation. And that can be combined with both of them at various times or at appropriate times. So this type of meditation uses the symbolic power of visualised images. The mind uses images imagery constantly to explore and understand our world. We do that all the time. We're always looking at different image of this and image of that, and we really enjoy that. So our imagination can be incredibly powerful. So what we're doing here is we're harnessing that power, so to speak. And so we can use visualised imagery to influence our mind. And if we, for example, here is an example, if we visualise that our body is radiant and light-natured, as we do, for example, say we were doing a White Tara. White Tara is a female deity, and she's said to have qualities to help and assist health and long life, and also dealing with afflictive emotions. So if we're imagining that White Tara is visualised before us, beautiful White Tara, she's white in colour and looks similar to the Buddha, but a little bit different. It's a deity, female deity. So we visualise this image of White Tara, and she is very, very beautiful. And then we're imagining that she's sending beautiful white nectar, and that goes right through, or white light, into our bodies. Then this is a very, very beautiful meditation, and it's very difficult to feel depressed after one's done a meditation like that. So it lifts and brightens our mind. And it is even more powerful if we associate these visualized images, use any image we want. There was, as I think I mentioned, the story of the famous meditator who used a buffalo horn, but many people like to visualize and meditate on Shakyamuni Buddha. And there's a double benefit on meditating on Shakyamuni Buddha, because we have the benefit of improving our concentration, but we also have the benefit of the imprint of his positive qualities. And so every part of the Buddha's body represents a positive aspect of mind, such as his hands are very long and beautiful due to his immediate generosity when he was asked to help somebody, for example. And every part of his body has a meaning like that. They're explained in great detail at the end of the Essence of the Path to Enlightenment, the first book in the Path to Enlightenment trilogy. And it's also they're also explained in Geshe's other book, Fundamental Potential. And very interesting. So the Buddha had 32 major marks and 80 minor signs. Every single one of them and other aspects of his body has a meaning. So that's an incredibly remarkable way of using visual imagery to develop positive imprints in the mind, as well as developing our concentration. So that's why it's there are many, many different visualized meditations within Tibetan Buddhism, and they all have this very strong purpose to lift our positive imprints, lift our thinking about the positive aspects of the Buddhas and deities, and then also to develop our concentration. So quite remarkable teachings. So today we're going to finish by doing the wonderful rainbow body visualization meditation, and this was passed to his students by Venerable Geshe Acharya Thupten Lodin, just behind me, and it's a lot of people enjoy this meditation. So so let's get ourselves back into our, take a second to get ourselves back into our excellent meditation posture. And we'll begin again by generating the wish to use the positive mental qualities we develop in the session, not just to benefit ourselves, but to benefit all others. And this strengthens our meditation and makes it even more worthwhile. So just have our shoulders relaxed, our nice straight back, our right hand and our left hand, tips of the thumbs together, our eyes gently closed or slightly open if we like. It can also help prevent sleepiness. Our elbows slightly away from the torso to prevent sleepiness. Then we begin by visualizing a drop at the crown of the head, just about the size of a large pea, a little drop. It's rainbow coloured, and this little drop is very colourful and peaceful. So it's about here at the crown of our head. So it transforms our crown into rainbow coloured light. So now the whole crown area is light-natured, the colours of the rainbow. Anyone familiar with chakras may see it as the 32 petals of the crown chakra, and the rainbow coloured light. So we visualise this coloured drop of light moving down from our crown to our throat area. With our crown and our throat area are now transformed into beautiful rainbow light. The coloured drop of light then moves down from the throat to our heart area, transforms our heart area or our heart chakra into radiant rainbow light. The rainbow coloured drop of light then moves from the heart area down to the navel. This transforms the navel area also into radiant rainbow light. So then our crown, our throat, heart and navel are now radiant rainbow light. Beautiful, many-coloured rainbow light. The rainbow drop of light then moves down from our navel to the base of the spine. Radiates light and transforms that area at the base of our spine to radiant rainbow light. We see all these different areas in the appearance of radiant rainbow light. The rainbow light emanates from each of these areas and then transforms our whole body into radiant rainbow light from the top of the head to the end of our toes. Our whole body is now rainbow light-natured, clear and bright light and without any heaviness. Rainbow light also transforms our mind with its calm and peaceful aspect. Visualize that light emanates from our body in all directions. Beautiful rainbow light. So beautiful, so peaceful. Light rays extending in all directions. So then the light extends out from our body and transforms the room we're in, so that our environment also transforms into rainbow light. Beautiful light, so many colours filling your room. The light emanates even further and further from our body, transforming our house or dwelling into rainbow light. Then your garden, streets, the buildings, all the people in the streets, all the people in the buildings, the animals, everything is transformed in your area into rainbow light. So peaceful, so beautiful. This rainbow light continues to emanate so that it goes throughout our whole city. All the people, all the animals, the building, the environment, all transform into rainbow light. Extends to transform our whole state. All the people in our state. And then beyond into our whole country. Every environment in our country into rainbow light. Every city, every town, every house, all beings, everything is transformed into beautiful, serene, rainbow light. Rainbow light extends even further to other countries, other people, all the oceans and all the beings in the oceans, all the beings in all the countries. And then we finally visualize this whole earth and all the beings on this earth transformed into beautiful, serene rainbow light. Then we meditate on this visualization as best we can. Every country, every town, every city, every beach, every ocean, every person, all the animals and insects, birds and wildlife, everything transformed into beautiful, serene rainbow light. Or you can visualize the whole earth bathed in rainbow light. So then we imagine that the rainbow light natured earth and all the beings in it then collect and dissolve into our own light natured body, step by step. Then we visualize our rainbow body begins to collect from the feet upwards, dissolving step by step. Eventually, we imagine dissolving into the rainbow-coloured drop of light at our crown. All that is left is a small rainbow-coloured drop of light. Then we visualize the small rainbow drop of light becomes smaller and smaller, and finally dissolves into space. Then we meditate on this feeling of spaciousness, lightness and energy. Whatever feeling of peace and calm you have generated through this meditation, continue it at least until the end of the day. Everyone you meet or everyone you encounter, then in recognition of the effort of this meditation and this class, we can dedicate the positive energy we have created towards more happiness in our life, more good conditions, better health, and also happiness and good conditions for the people we love, and if we like, for all living beings. And we can release our concentration. So if we can aim to commence, if we don't have one already, a regular practice of breathing meditation for 10 to 15 minutes 3 times a week, that'll be marvellous. As I said, meditation is a learned skill, and after regular practice it is very likely that you will improve. If you're finding it hard to settle the chattering mind. So to learn more from experienced teachers and long-time meditators is also very useful. So we have plenty more classes if you'd like to attend them as well. So next weekend is the final week in the series Finding Serenity in Turbulent Times, and what we'll do in that session is to explore some more ideas for peaceful living. So time's getting on. So if anyone has a question, if you could please email it through to events@tashita.org, that would be great. Sorry, I've gone a bit over time. So thank you very much, everyone, and hope your week ahead goes well. Take care. Thanks, Chris. Have a good week.